This particular vid will show you how to work a yarn over from both the right side and the wrong side. It's a single stitch increase that leaves a little hole in the work.
A yarn over is the simplest type of increase you can make. It is literally a strand of yarn that goes over the needle. That extra strand of yarn becomes an extra stitch that you can knit into on the subsequent row. So how is it done? On the right side of your work, where we're showing stocking stitch, it's very, very easy. If I wanted to create a yarn over after this next stitch, I would knit it, and then I bring the working yarn between the two needles towards me and then lay it over the top. That's it. And then carry on knitting. It's really unstable until you've got one more stitch at least after it. But then, if you look at what's happening here, we've got a stitch here and a stitch here, and in between them, that extra strand of yarn. Doesn't look like much now, but it will when we get to the other side. I'm just coming up on the other side to the point where we created that yarn over, and I want to show you what it looks like when you reach it on the next row. This is obviously a purl row because I'm working in stocking stitch. That's why I'm purling as we go along. And here it is. It's not a stitch at all. It's just this loose, floppy strand of yarn. All you do is you carry on purling into it, just as if it were any other type of stitch at all. Look how loose and baggy that is. That's because the yarn over increase creates a very definite hole in your work. Hole sounds pejorative. People like to call it an eyelet. And there it is. Eyelets in your work can be very useful for creating lacy textures or for anything where you just want to have a little bit of variation in the uniformity of the stocking stitch. We've now caught that as an extra stitch there. It's not going to go anywhere, and we've increased our stitch count by one stitch. On the other side of the work, we're going to create a yarn over in reverse stocking stitch. The process is exactly the same. It just feels a little bit different because we're working on the purl side. Our yarn is hanging out at the front. So we're going to work to the point where we want to create our yarn over, which is, for the benefit of doubt, here. And this time we're going to just take the yarn over to the back of the work and then bring it to the front one more time. So we've still created one complete revolution, still going in an anti-clockwise direction around the needle tip, but I'll show you that again. We start off with the yarn at the front, we take it over to the back, and then bring it to the front once more, coming between the two needle tips like that. I'm going to show you that with a little bit more aplomb. We start off with the yarn at the front of the work, and then we take it over to the back, and then bring it to the front once more, coming between the needle tips, and that sets us up ready to purl the next stitch, because obviously purling a stitch, the yarn is always at the front. To turn the work over and see what it looks like as we return to it on the subsequent row. One more stitch to knit, and there it is. Again, it's just loose and floppy. It's just a big old strand of yarn hanging over that needle there. We're just going to knit into the front loop as we would any other stitch. A couple of stitches past it, and you can see once again that it is a big hole in the knitting. I've got a swatch here which shows how a line of yarn overs can stack up and become very decorative in the work. This is a yarn over on the right side and not on the wrong side, a yarn over on the right side and not on the wrong side, working its way all the way up through that line there. And it's very, very attractive, very decorative, but certainly very visible. And that's the yarn over increase.
And that's the yarn over, both right side and wrong side. Now you won't go wrong, you'll always go right.